So today, we're unpacking something truly wild. It's one of the most fascinating, and let's be real, bizarre diplomatic appointments you're ever going to see in the world of online cultural politics.
And it all kicks off with this quote from Tariq Nasheed. This appointment is about regulating the exchange. Right off the bat, you're probably thinking, regulating what exchange? And how exactly does a rapper turned ambassador do that? Well, that's the big mystery we're going to unravel right now.
All right, so here's the headline. The rapper Wale has been appointed as the ambassador to Jamaica for the Foundational Black Americans, or FBA. Now, if you're not familiar, FBA basically refers to black people who are descendants of those enslaved right here in the United States. And look, this isn't just some honorary title. No, this is being presented as a very real, very formal diplomatic role.
Officially, this is all about a new phase of heritage-based cultural diplomacy. That phrasing is so deliberate, you know. It's meant to sound super serious. The whole idea is to formalize things between two groups that, let's just say, have some deep disagreements online, but also a ton of cultural crossover. It's like they're trying to build a bridge. But as you're about to see, this is a very, very strange bridge.
So you gotta ask, right? How do you pick someone for a brand new, kind of weird diplomatic post like this one? You'd think they'd be looking for someone with, foreign policy chops. But nope. Turns out the whole vetting process was, well, it was basically a vibe check.
And get this, according to internal documents, these were the key qualifications. First, his ability to stay calm during internet arguments. Second, his familiarity with Pan-African aesthetics, but, and this is a huge but, without being fully committed. And maybe the biggest one of all, his willingness to stand right in the middle of a Twitter firestorm between Jamaicans and FBA and not even flinch. Yeah, these are not exactly the skills they teach you at the State Department.
And this quote from an FBA official really just says it all. He's been misunderstood by every group he's ever interacted with. That makes him uniquely qualified. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. For a job that's all about ambiguity, being misunderstood isn't a problem. It's the main qualification. It's not a bug. It's the entire feature.
All right, so he's got the job, he's uniquely qualified. But what is he actually supposed to do? Let's break down his official mandate. So his duties are laid out just like a regular government gig. Number 1, go to cultural events and just silently take notes. Number 2, put out these carefully worded statements that don't really explain anything at all. Number 3, and this is super specific, figure out which Jamaican cultural exports are adjacent or borrowed. And finally, he's got to file quarterly reports. And the title of these reports? You can't make this up. Respectfully, it's complicated.
Okay, this is absolutely key. You have to understand his main diplomatic tool. He can release something called a measured clarification when things get ugly online. But, and they're very clear about this, these are not apologies. Apologies are off the table. Instead, these things are supposed to act like a pause button on an online argument, just to slow things down without actually, resolving anything.
So what are people in Jamaica saying about all this? Well, as you can probably guess, it's been a mix of wait, what, and a whole lot of cautious curiosity.
Here's one take from a cultural analyst in Kingston, and it's pretty sharp. They said, "We are unsure what exactly an FBA ambassador does, but we assume it involves observing us intensely and returning home to explain why we are wrong respectfully." You can just feel the dry wit in that, right? They're already totally onto the vibe of this whole operation.
But, not everyone's being sarcastic about it. A local radio host had a more practical take. They said, if he can survive American rap discourse, he may survive this. Which is kind of brilliant, right? It's looking at his background in rap beefs not as a joke, but as actual legitimate training for tough cultural negotiations.
All right, so let's put the pieces together. We've got the appointment, we've got these weird qualifications, we've got the reactions, but what's the big idea behind it all? It's time to zoom out, because this isn't just some random one-off thing.
And honestly, this quote from a political theorist just hits the nail on the head. They said this whole thing is not diplomacy in the traditional sense. It's more like an ongoing group chat with flags. And that is just perfect. It perfectly captures how they're blending internet culture with a serious, formal language of international politics.
See, this whole appointment is just one piece of a much larger FBA strategy. They actually call it structured disagreement. The goal is to basically formalize all these online cultural debates and treat the argument itself as a type of diplomacy. So the point isn't to get everyone to agree, it's to create a formal structure for how they disagree. And that brings us to the main takeaway. All this stuff that seems confusing, the vague job, the non-apologies, the focus on vibes, that's not a mistake. It's not a bug in the system. It is the system. In this new world of cultural statecraft, ambiguity isn't a flaw. It's the whole point. It's the policy.
Which, of course, leaves us with one big question. As this whole new model of diplomacy plays out, what's the end game? Is this actually going to lead to real understanding between different groups? Or are we all just going to end up with longer, more complicated explanations for why everyone is still arguing?